Hi guys, today we're gonna talk about word count. Some people look at word counts as rules, other people see them as more of guidelines. Um, when I went out there, of course, I found many people fighting over this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're supposed to do. No, 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 if you can't say you wrote a novel, if your novel is only 20,000 words or 85,000 words or anything like that. Like, if you want to write a novel, it has to be over 100,000 words to whatever. So, this had been to me a big headache when I started thinking about publishing because it was like a million years ago, before self publishing, before ebooks and all that. And the big guideline thing was like, if you wanted to write a novel, it had to be over 120,000 words or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna do that. Like, my stories are like 10,000 words and 5,000 words. And I was like, no, sadness, whatever. So, yeah, thankfully, nowadays things are different. We have self-publishing, we have ebooks, and even though there are still people out there that consider the word count as rules, the majority of it is more guideline based. With that said, if you want to go the conventional route and publish your story or your book through a conventional publisher, then it's kind of more like a rule because they have a minimum amount of word count that you have to have in order for them to accept your manuscript. So that kind of falls more into like a rule kind of thing. Now, even for guidelines, when I went out there, I couldn't find a specific answer because everything varied a little bit. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to do some research and come up with my own guidelines. And I did. I write fiction, I write romance, so I based myself on that. I also checked the guidelines that are out there for sci-fi and fantasy, because I also write that kind of stuff sometimes. So I kind of base myself a little bit on that. Before I tell you my guidelines, I want to share with you the guidelines for some of the major awards out there for fiction. There's the Nebula and the Hugo Awards are for sci-fi, fantasy, and they have a set of guidelines for their entries, which are kind of like those rule-ish guidelines. And for that, we have 4 different types, which is short story, novelette, novella, and novel. For them, a short story is up to 7,500 words. A novelette is at least 7,500 words to 17,500. A novella is 17,500 words to 40,000, or a little less than 40,000. And then a novel is anything over 40,000 words. Now, if you are a romance author like I am, and you want to get an award for either a novella or a novel, then the Romance Writers of America and the Rita Awards, both of them follow the same guidelines or rules, and that is 20,000 words to 40,000 words is the length of a novella. Anything over 40,000 words is a novel. And those are the rule guidelines that those awards go with. With that said, and after seeing that and some other websites on different types of awards, literary awards out there, I then went to see what publishing houses out there were accepting manuscripts, fiction manuscripts, and what the guidelines or rules for those were. Now, when you write an ebook or you're self-published, you don't have the same parameters, but the rule of thumb out there is that you should follow the regular guidelines for conventional publishing, even if you're going to do an ebook. So that's what I do, at least, what I want to do. I do not write nonfiction, but I did find the average for a nonfiction ebook out there right now is anywhere from 10,000 to 15,000 words. That's the only thing I kind of checked on nonfiction, just because it's not really my forte or what I do. So if you write nonfiction, you probably need to go out there and kind of look. The way I did it is I just went to see the publishing houses, that are accepting what I wanted to present, and then make a big giant list or like an Excel thing, and then tabulate stuff and average things out, and there you have your answer. It's not easy, it's time consuming. Ask my husband, he was looking at me like, what in the world are you doing, woman, with all these little ticks and checks and stuff? But hey, I came up with my guidelines and I feel pretty good about it. They're pretty close to the general guidelines of most romance out there, so I feel pretty good about it. I am gonna put the guidelines down here and somewhere up here probably as I go along. So I have 7 types of stories, starting with the micro fiction, which is about 100 words. Then above that you have the flash fiction. Flash fiction is 100 words to about 1,000 words. After the flash fiction, you have the short story, and a short story is from 1,000 words to 7,500 words. Then you have the novelette. Novelette is 7,500 words up to 20,000 words, or a little less than 20,000 words, I guess. And then 20,000 words to 40,000 words, or just under, is your novella. And then a novel is 40,000 words up to about 110,000 words. Anything about 110,000 words is going to be considered an epic novel. And those are my guidelines. As you can see, they are very similar to most of the recognized guidelines out there, which is what I wanted to do. They are a little different to the guidelines that I was following before, because before I really didn't do a lot of research on it. I just went with one that I found and that I saw made sense. So I'm a lot happier with this list down here, because to me is, I did the research on it and I kind of see, oh yeah, this is kind of like the average out there. But an important thing, talking about word count, is to remember not to let word count mess up your story. When you do your first draft, just let it flow out. Just let that story go out of you however it wants. Don't go like chapter, let me check my word count. Chapter, let me check my word count. Don't do that, because that's going to screw your head over and it's going to be horrible. Do your story and then look at the word count. After you do that, after your story is out there laid out, then you go back and you see how you can make the story better, longer, in other ways. Because if you are looking to just work on, first thing in your head is that, then it's not going to work. It's going to be horrible. You're going to take the joy out of the writing. So don't do that. Ooh, pretty. Oh my gosh, this raccoon is so pretty. Oh, pretty. Oh my Lord, I want to touch it so bad. Sorry, I just saw a raccoon and it's so beautiful. Okay, sorry. So yes, that's all I have about word count, and I hope my guidelines help you out. And as always, leave me a comment below, subscribe, all that good stuff. And don't touch raccoons, because they might touch you, even if they're super cute. Okay, so bye.